Overpass has been under fire recently due to it being the strongest map for the CTs, having the highest CT round win rate of any map at 54.8% in 2026. Yet, I still see amateur or semi-pro teams making mistakes that are costing them rounds or even matches. This is how to play CT Overpass from Sinners, who recently won BC Game Masters Championship Season 1 while going undefeated on the map throughout the tournament, posting some notable upsets, all while using simple concepts you can use in your team or individual play. Watching Sinners and other pro teams, you will see the same starting utility being thrown. A-stairs nades to slow the T default, short molly to force a lurker to respect the CTs, a connector door HE to force the Ts to use the smoke on the end of con, and a monster smoke to deter rushes. You'll see these 5 grenades thrown at the start of every gun round without fail. Aside from the default 2A, 3B setup, Sinners mostly ran an alternative 4B, 1A setup. During anti-egos, Stressarn would sometimes start towards B in anticipation for a B rush, because if the Ts were to rush A, Moto as the opper could spot the Ts from range and the CTs could rotate quickly to contest a site take. More commonly though, on 4B setups, Moto started by opping Pillar or boosted Heaven to C into Con. On other rounds, Sinners played 3 towards A, but nonetheless the same 5 foundational utility was thrown. This is something that is important across any map. If you do something every round in a row, when you don't do it, your opponents will know something is different, and they will be on high alert. If we dissect the op starting B, we will see Moto will play around the pillar while looking either monster or short. This might have been a read from Sinners to start the op here, but I like to think that they did this simply to give the Ts a different look if they did come B. When Moto is Heaven, you will see he nades door and holds connector aiming here. If he shoots him through the wall, he's not guaranteed a kill unless he headshots, so why do this? The philosophy is that if a T walks up on the left side, the T won't be able to see Moto and is a free kill. Also, Moto is able to wallbang the player on the right side, assisting Stressarn for a push if he is in con. When Stressarn isn't participating in this con play, he will play passive on A or towards long bathrooms, spotting long and the bathroom's entrance to act as an early warning system for an A hit. Even though he is not actively spotting sands, his teammate near graffiti is able to hear footsteps there. And if the Ts chose to walk up with no nades thrown, Sinners is set up nicely for a retake since Stressarn is able to hold onto long control. When the 2 CTA players have regrouped on A site, they never stay on the site. If you were to take anything away from this video, it is this. The A site is a death trap, and it is always beneficial to play ahead of the site or out of the site with a set retake plan. I always recommend playing ahead of the site because the front of bathrooms area is almost never procedurally cleared and taken by the Ts. Having your rifler walk up with the cover of the op behind is the best way to reaggress this area, and there is no wrong way to do it as long as the opper and rifler are clearing and holding cohesively. And it can be done as a pair without utility or as a solo rifler while smoking or mollying front bathroom or divider. But in most situations, I recommend smoking divider. This aggression also sets up the A rifler for a quick flank to B through con. You can see many examples in these demos of re-aggression into sands and bathrooms, but the most important one I want to highlight is when Stressarn aggresses and B-Stick gets into this position after rotating up. He is in a unique game helper role here where he is able to get into the action and provide support nades and play this off angle for long while being able to turn on a dime to help Stressarn. This position is extremely strong for the rotator, and in mid to late round 3A setups, this is my go-to recommendation. The important part about this ideology for A is that you need to hold on to either sands, bathrooms, or long. Here's an example of Sinners attempting to re-aggress long, but they are spotted, so they audible and aggress bathrooms. In this round here, they did a long setup and the Ts took the site from sands. Even though the Ts took control of the site with minimal effort, they were picked apart and had no control to have effective crossfires in the post plant. Another important note about A setups. If you do need to do an A setup with 2 players, play sign and dice with utility on the sign player. With this setup, you are able to play together while also having some tricky protocols to disrupt the Ts. As Stressor highlights, when on sign, you need to get info. When he spots the Ts on long, he uses his utility to force the sands and bathroom players back. If you are in this position and spot players rushing up sands, I recommend smoking here and holding onto long while waiting for your team to rotate up. Down on B, there is not much commotion. After the foundational nades are thrown, Kisarek settles around pit and Shock at barrels with B-stick around graffiti. Off spawn, Shock will self-flash or molly monster to stop a rush. If Shock self-flashes, he throws this underhand flash and spams into the monster smoke before falling back to pillar or barrels. If he starts barrels or is there in the mid-round, he likes to play this position because the roof of the shack will block any over monster pop flashes. Either way, Kisarek is holding this defensive smoke for barrels. This smoke will always be the B player's best friend. After it is thrown, the two B players nest themselves in on this side of the site, while the rotate player mollies or holds bridge, making it difficult for the Ts to scale the site. Another aspect of this smoke is that even if these two players are alone on the site, it will delay enough time for the A players to rotate in. The most important part of this setup is that the B players prioritize staying alive instead of overpeaking for kills. The next thing you will see commonly done by Sinners is the bridge boost. They did this against G2 on 3 early gun rounds because they were never spotted. The do X until they see it ideology I like, and it paid off for Sinners here, granting them a kill onto Matisse. A small detail about this boost that is worth noting is that they do not start it by standing. They use the jump to spot any Ts walking into the water cubby. They will also use this boost in the mid-round to maximize their info, but if you choose to do this, make sure your barrels player is on alert for short or monster walkouts. Even though Overpass is CT-sided, that doesn't mean you are able to do anything and get away with it. Overpass allows the CTs to rotate quickly while getting early info on executes before they happen, and even if the Ts are able to reach the sites, defensive utility is suffocating. Always remember, playing ahead of the site on A and having proper B setups will set you and your team above the rest.